The easiest horror movie characters to survive, part 3. The demon from Smile. Now, last time I checked, the reason that the demon transfers is because you're about to see someone unalive themselves. Now, I'm big-brained, so why don't I just close my eyes before someone ends up doing that? And I avoid the demon altogether. There's no way he's gonna transfer through my eyelids if they're shut. So as long as I don't see someone doing that, I should be good. You then have any version of Ghostface. Now, yes, I know there's multiple Ghostfaces, sometimes 3, sometimes 2, sometimes 1, but they're all stupid. If you really look at these movies and you see how clumsy these characters are, they're just getting lucky. They're not actually making big brain plays. Most of the time you're hitting them with fridges or outrunning them, throwing things down the stairs and they're getting tripped up. They're just normal people. If you find out that there's a mass unaliver in your town and it could possibly be your friend, hop in your car, check the back seat in the trunk, and dip. And if you have to fight them one-on-one, hopefully there's only one, but 9 times out of 10 you should be able to catch a break enough to run away. You then have my boy Jason Voorhees. Now I'm not talking the 2009 remake where bro is a hunter and can sprint. I'm talking about normal, slow-walking Jason Voorhees. Most of the time bro's only hanging out at Camp Crystal Lake. Just don't go camping at Camp Crystal Lake. Secondly, bro walks everywhere. Yes, extremely strong, super strength, inhuman durability. Just don't get in his way. I know I'm making it sound simple, but if you really think about it, in most of the movies, people are messing with him for no reason. Why are you coming back to Camp Crystal Lake? Stay home! Like and follow if you'd like to see a part 4.
Disturbing body facts that might ruin your day. If you have a surgery where your other organs need to be moved around, they might not function a day after the surgery because the body assumes they're just dead. Next, the brain is the last thing to function when you pass away, meaning in most cases you will hear, feel, and smell your last moments on Earth. And it's possible to die from a pimple, let me explain. If a pimple gets infected, let's say from you itching it, the infection could get into your bloodstream causing you to have an intense fever. Then a few days later, you will start having seizures and vomiting everywhere, so try not to play too much with your pimples. And finally, it's possible to get brain damage from a toothache, because if you have a tooth infection, there's a high chance of it getting to the brain if it's not taken care in time.
Elephants are the biggest crash outs in the animal kingdom, and no, that's not a weight joke. These trunk merchants can be menaces when they want to be, and whoever decided to lie and make this up actively took names off the census, which the elephants don't need help doing, seeing as the pachyderms pass tense 500 people a year, allegedly. Y'all remember that elephant that broke out of a sanctuary, traveled over 100 miles just to life deprive a 70-year-old senior citizen while she was getting water? How do you stay mad for 100 miles straight? Not only that, it pulled up to her funeral, grabbed her soul-divorced body, and said, you know what, 0 HP ain't enough, I need you in the negatives. Now, a lot of y'all said she deserved it because she was involved in poaching and elephant mafia slid, and yeah, that could be true. She also could have breathed, since sometimes that's all it takes. There's a reality where someone's grandmother got murked completely unprovoked, got put on a shirt except the shirt was reversible. Like all males, eventually elephants get to the point where all they want to do is multiply without a calculate. Damn, who's on the camera, did he? The problem is, when they're big enough to want it but not big enough to do something about it, they act out by attempting to off each other. Of course, sometimes they get frustrated when they smell the scent of a female on a baby, leading to them yeeting the baby. He really just Kobe the calf. He's fine though. Nah, but the worst crash outs are the ones we created. So poaching, right? It's usually the older, bigger bulls that get hit the hardest, obviously. Problem is, without those same seasoned bulls, the younger, immature bulls start wilding all the way out. And what happens when you get hormonal, teenage, 10,000-pound frat boys with no father figure? LFI. For an elephant, fatherless behavior means turning an angry unicorn from a tight end to a whiteout. In the 90s, 3 angsty elephants murked not 1, not 2, not 10, but 63 rhinos got folded by the 3 musketeers of malice. It wasn't until they brought back the older seasoned bulls that the younger males fell back in line. They're chill most of the time, but let them flip that switch and they're editing the census with a backspace button. Still my favorite animal though.
A teacher is going to prison after making a teenager do something absolutely shocking. It was 2023 at South Fremont High School in St. Anthony, Idaho. That November, school teacher Jessica Lawson, age 36, was arrested. The story that would unfold would go on to shock the local community. Jessica was sat in the passenger seat of a car and police spotted it due to a damaged tailgate. And thank God police did stop this car. When officers looked inside, they found the teacher was with a teenage boy. Now, the teenager was actually driving the car and they decided to get them to pull over and to interview the boy in private. What they discovered was truly disturbing. The teacher had picked the child up from his parents' house. She allegedly gave him alcohol and substances and then had SA'd him. She ultimately made the teenager then drive her vehicle because she was too intoxicated. She was arrested and given 2 years in prison, but she could now be facing more time behind bars. This is for pleading guilty to S, battery of a child. He's also been given a 20-year no contact order with the victim of this crime.
This doll is so dangerous, it's locked in a box. This doll right here is named Robert, and he's the most infamous doll in the entire world. And the story behind him will creep you out. In 1904, a little boy received Robert the doll as a birthday gift. At first there was nothing wrong, like he was just a normal doll. But then the little boy started saying strange things like, "Robert made me do it, Robert told me to say this." And this little boy was very well behaved up until this point. He never got into trouble. But now he was getting into trouble every single day at school and blaming it on the doll. One day the family woke up to the little boy screaming on the floor with the doll on top of him with a knife. People even claim to see the doll moving. And now this doll is locked in a box in the Florida Keys. A lot of him that go to visit him think it's fake at first, but then they claim to feel some kind of demonic force once they actually go into the room. There's even a sign that makes you ask him for permission to take a photo. And they say if you don't, you end up having a lot of bad luck after. Do you think this could be demonic?
Animals with shocking defense mechanisms. Horned lizard. This small reptile can shoot blood from its eyes as a defense mechanism. It lives in Northern and Central America. The blood contains chemicals that taste bad to predators, helping the lizard escape. Hairy frog. It is also known as the Wolverine frog because it can break its own bones and push them through its skin to form sharp claws when threatened. This horror frog lives in Central Africa.
The fastest things in the world, part 2. Fastest internet, Singapore, 184.65 megabits per second. Fastest running insect, Australian tiger beetle, 5.6 miles per hour. Fastest woman, Florence Joyner, 22 miles per hour. Fastest helicopter, Boeing V-22 Osprey, 351 miles per hour. Fastest spacecraft, NASA's Parker Solar Probe, 93 miles per second.
This woman passed away a few hours after this photo was taken when she flew to Turkey for a mommy makeover. 38-year-old Kaydel Brown flew from the UK to Istanbul with her sister Leanne, and she had a procedure done at Clinic Expert. Her procedure included a tummy tuck, liposuction, and BBL. The entire process leading up to the surgery was perfect. They even offered a discount for Kaydel, and that's what made her want to do her surgery here. But things took a turn a few hours into the surgery when the doctor came out and told her sister that Kaydel was dead. This is the doctor that performed her surgery, and she said that with these types of procedures, it is very high risk. Now, you would think that things could not get worse, but when Kaydel's body was brought back to the UK, the coroner told her family that large parts of her organs were missing, such as her brain and her heart. During an interview, the sister said that legally they couldn't do anything and that the clinic was allowed to take the organs if they wanted to.
They returned her body, they'd kept pieces of her heart and her intestines.
How hard was that to hear?
Better. I don't think it was allowed, but they said it's legal, they can take what they want. I thought you'd have to ask at least permission from family before you took anything, but they sent a death certificate straight away and just put there's not even a cause of death.
But a lot of people believe that her organs were removed to sell them.
This elderly couple just agreed to be euthanized. Former Royal Air Force engineer Pete Scott and his retired nurse wife Christine have signed up for a double SUI pod in Switzerland, where voluntary assisted SUI has been legal since 1942. The pair made the decision after 80-year-old Christine was diagnosed with early-stage vascular dementia. Married for 46 years, they plan to die peacefully together in each other's arms with the help of the sarcophagus pod. This controversial death capsule works by replacing air with 100% nitrogen, which quickly renders the occupant unconscious and fully stops their breathing within 10 minutes, resulting in a swift, painless death. As stated by Pete, we have had long, happy, healthy, fulfilled lives, but here we are in old age and it does not do nice things to you. The idea of watching the slow degradation of Chris's mental abilities is horrific to me. Obviously I would care for her to the point I could not, but she has nursed enough people with dementia throughout her career to be adamant that she wants to remain in control of herself and her life. Assisted dying gives her that opportunity, and I would not want to go on living without her.
The
The dumbest conspiracy theories on Earth that people actually believe. Right, so, let's take a look. The moon doesn't exist. Right, yeah, sure. People believe the moon is a hologram that is projected into the sky every night. What? Oh my days. Nah, I'm sorry. The dinosaurs built the pyramids of Egypt. Yeah, I bet they did. Who is writing these? What? It says that it was written in the Old Testament that dinosaurs helped the Egyptians to build the Great Pyramids. Yeah, definitely. Lizard people are running the world. I'm not being funny, mate. This isn't Spider-Man. What? No. Approximately 12 million people in America believe that the government is made out of lizards. Guys, if you're watching this video, what are you doing? What are you doing?
Here are some humans that have actual superpowers. So Stephen Wiltshire is an autistic artist who can draw an entire cityscape inclusive of all architectural details from his memory after only seeing it once.
A loose goat returned home with a medal after he accidentally joined a half marathon over the weekend, and his owner only found out when she woke up to find social media flooded with photos of her goat in the middle of the race. Joshua the goat lives at a pumpkin patch in Conception Bay South, and the route for the town's very first Trailway Trek half marathon went right by his home. Mr. Joshua is a very friendly little guy, and he's used to following people around while accompanying his family on walks. So when he saw people running by, he must have thought it was a cue for him to join. Fueled by adrenaline, Joshua managed to escape his pen and started keeping pace with the runners as if he were a trained athlete. Volunteers tried to contain him, but Joshua was determined to run his race, dodging anyone who tried to stop him. Meanwhile, Heidi Taylor, the owner of Taylor's Pumpkin Patch, had no idea that Joshua had made his own morning plans until she happened to check social media and came face to face with dozens of photos of her goat mid-marathon. She used the post to track his location and showed up with his favorite snacks, which finally enticed him to take a break. Once he was secured on a leash, Heidi took Joshua to the finish line, where he was presented with a medal for finishing first place in the goat division. Joshua ran an estimated total of 3 miles, but in the eyes of the locals, he was the race's undisputed champion. He's now back home, resting after his big day. I'm Jen, and I post something positive every day.
This is what the perfect human body looks like according to science. And yes, women would have bloody baby pouches. A group of anatomists wanted to see what a person would look like if the human body evolved for peak functionality, and then took inspiration from other species that do things better. So firstly, the human 2.0 would have a sturdy chimp's lower back, and the shock-absorbing legs of an emu. Just posing it here for all my feet people out there. Rare. To improve blood circulation, she has tiny pumps in her groin. I'm not hearing anybody else. Senses would be enhanced by having supersized eyes and the ears of a cat. Apparently titties are a flaw and had to go, R.I.P. Inside, we'd have the reliable heart of a dog, the graceful lungs of a swan, a choke-proof windpipe, and to ensure a pain-free childbirth, women would nurse their babies in a marsupial pouch. So the question is, if this is what the perfect woman would look like, what would change for a man?
An animal that doesn't die? Giant Galapagos tourists can live 150 years old. There was a quahog named Ming that was 500 years old. But this fascinating creature doesn't die. Tiny jellyfish are known as biologically immortal. The adult's injured or can't find food, folds in on itself and turns back into a larva. Like a butterfly back to a caterpillar. So they just live for millions of years? Still dies if it gets eaten.
Let's try to guess the religion of these YouTubers. Mr. Beast, I feel like he's Catholic, no? He's gotta be a Christian for sure. I know Chandler definitely is. Agnostic, really? I wouldn't expect that. Speed is Christian for sure. Not sure which denomination, but definitely Christian. Yep, there we go. Same with Kai. I feel like a lot of the streamers are religious. Yep, there we go. PewDiePie, Well, he's European, so I feel like there's a decent chance he's Christian, but he's a curveball, and he lives in Japan now, so maybe like a Buddhist. No atheist, really. Markiplier's a curveball to me. I feel like he could be anything. Maybe like agnostic for him. A-religious, so what's that, like non-religious basically? Aiden Ross is Jewish for sure. Yep, Jewish. And then, oh, I know Ryan Trahan's like a converted Christian. He's big into God now. Yep. Alright, nice.
Things humans weren't meant to see.
things that only 0.01% of people can do. Touching your nose with your tongue. Yeah, I can't do it. Apparently some people can't just raise one eyebrow. I think I can do it. And apparently some people can't cross their eyes, and I'm pretty sure I just did it. Sneeze with your eyes open. Okay, that's impossible. Nobody can do that. Apparently rolling your tongue is super rare. So apparently I'm a rare person. Apparently some people can bend their hand upwards. How is that possible?
People who turn themselves into animals. Toko-san. A Japanese man has spent 12,000 pounds on a hyper-realistic costume to fulfill his lifetime dream of being an animal. He commissioned Zephyr, a company that makes costumes for TV adverts and films, to produce his bespoke costume. Took them 40 days.
Did you know there might be a dead body in the cargo space of the next airplane you fly in, and you wouldn't even know? Hello and welcome to Not So Fun Facts, a series where I tell you unsettling facts. Back in the 18th and 19th centuries, dentures were sometimes made out of dead soldiers' teeth. As you can imagine, they didn't last very long. Have you ever felt something so cold that it felt hot? Some people who die of hypothermia are found naked because as their body temperature drops, they start to feel burning hot and take off their clothes, leading to an even quicker death. Like and follow for more.
There was something evil in this woman's room, because it looked like her dog was telling her she saw something that her owner couldn't. A woman in Sydney was woken up at 5 a.m. by her dog, Coda. She started shaking uncontrollably and looking at something that was in the room with them. The woman kept looking to see what it was, but she couldn't see anything. But strangely, Coda was on the fence the whole time. Coda then hopped in the bed, keeping her eyes on whatever was there, aggressively growling at it. What exactly did Coda see in that room? And what would you do in this situation? Let me know what you think.
This is Ginger. She's known as the most haunted doll in Iowa and one of the most haunted dolls in the United States. It's said that Ginger is possessed by a demon. People have seen her move by herself. She's been recorded jumping off of tabletops, and people have watched her pick things up. Nobody knows what type of a spirit is inside of Ginger, but she's kept locked in this box because people are so afraid of her. Look into her eyes, and you might see a demon. The full video of us investigating Ginger at the haunted Malvern Manor will be out this Wednesday on the Paranormal Files, my YouTube channel. The link is in my bio.
Psychology hacks you need to know. If someone is trying to make you decide something in a hurry, they're most likely giving you a bad deal, and you should just walk away. If a person is trying to intimidate you, stare at their forehead with a blank expression. This will psychologically make them self-conscious. Chewing gum when you're nervous really does help, because your brain thinks, I'm eating, so I must not be in danger. If you want to know if someone is interested in what you're saying, cross your arms. If they cross their arms too, this is called mirroring, and it actually means they're interested in the conversation. If you need to remember to do something tomorrow, just put something in your room out of place. The next day, you'll see this item out of place and you'll remember why you put it there. Finally, if two people are arguing, stand in between them and eat something. It'll help alleviate the tension.
Things that almost no humans can do, but I'm not sure, and if you can, then you're bloody weird. This is where you bend your thumb back onto your hand like that. Only 1% of humans can actually do this. Do you want this video if you can do it?
Things humans were never meant to see. They strapped a camera on a shark, and look what it captured. As you can see, the camera is attached. Now, as the shark goes deeper in the water, you won't believe the shocking sighting it caught. Wait for it. Now look closely. Here it comes. Is that a mermaid?
If kids' drawings were real, easily one of the most creepiest videos I think I've ever looked at. I mean, the one I think terrifies me the most. And just strange, distorted faces, man. Gosh, this is like nightmare fuel. And the cat.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. This is how many lives of politicians were ended in Mexico just in the first half of 2024. Any country in blue on this map used to display people at zoos. This map shows air quality in Europe. Dark blue is the cleanest air, and red is the air that can cause problems. This map shows every nuclear power plant in the world, with green being operational, red being shut down, and blue being under construction. Any state in red is where a popular adult entertainment website has been banned as of July 1st. This map shows where all of the pirate attacks have been located in the 21st century, with red being the very hot areas. There are 1 billion people in each individual color on this map. This map shows the topography of Peru, and this map shows the topography of Germany. These are the hottest temperatures that have ever been recorded in every US state. This map shows which gender has the highest BMI on average. The red countries are where more women have a higher BMI, and the blue countries are where more men have a higher BMI. And yellow is just equal.
Let's talk about some of the craziest true crime documentaries that are coming out in October, because I think we're going to get some of the best of the year. The Menendez brothers are getting a documentary on Netflix where they're actually going to tell their own story. This is of course coming on the heels of the Netflix Ryan Murphy show about them, but in this one they're actually interviewed. Also, I'm Kaylin and I love giving recommendations if you want to follow along. And then 2 days later, we're actually getting a Scamanda documentary on Hulu. That's the story of how Amanda Riley scammed people out of hundreds of thousands of dollars by pretending to have cancer. It was originally a podcast, and so was Sweet Bobby, which is also getting a documentary this month. It follows one of the craziest catfishing stories I've ever heard, and you kind of just have to see it to believe it. And this one's kind of crazy, but there was a Chris Brown documentary kind of made in secret called A History of Violence. It's going to be on Hulu, and it was actually made by the people who made Quiet on Set earlier this year. And then in time for spooky season, Disney Plus is putting out Witches, The Truth Behind the Trials. It promises to tell a kind of unknown history about the witch trials starting back when they were taking place in Europe. And then the one I'm probably the most excited for is a Netflix doc called This is the Zodiac Speaking. It's a 3-part docuseries that apparently really focuses in on one suspect in the Zodiac case. Which ones are you going to be watching this month?
The brand new poster for Terrifier 3, I think it's safe to say this might be the best horror movie of this year. You literally have Art the Clown unaliving a Santa Claus with a chainsaw. He's then gonna wear his suit. Well, with the fact that Art the Clown is finally coming to a video game. He's going to be in Call of Duty in the next couple days. He's finally starting to get the recognition he deserves. With that, here's every theory in my own theory for Terrifier 3. Starting with my own, at some point Sienna's going to be going to the 9th Circle of Hell, aka the first spot Art the Clown took his victims in order to get immortality. She's going to go there and either sacrifice herself or someone else, or put something up as fodder in order to get Art the Clown off of Earth. Then I have a theory online speculating that the final girl from the first movie is going to be possessed by a demon and try to unalive Art the Clown with Sienna and her brother. Now that made sense to me for a while, until I took another look at the original photo that came out for this movie. She's with Art the Clown sitting on top of an unalived Santa Claus. Is Art the Clown the demon that's possessing her? I think that's a massive possibility. He is that strong. I've also been seeing theories online that this is young Sienna, and her first time seeing Art the Clown. She was over at a friend's house or at a sleepover during Christmas time. Art the Clown came in and unalived everybody's parents, and that's where his obsession with her started, hence the reason he's all about her. Me personally, I genuinely have no idea where this movie's going. All I know is it's going to be absolutely insane, and the first 5 minutes are going to shock everybody.
Maps that will change the way you see the world. This is a prediction of what the world is going to look like 250 million years from now. These are the CO2 emissions across the Indian subcontinent, with the lightest, whitest areas being the highest. This map shows all of the foreign military presence that is sitting in Africa right now. This map shows the most valuable Italian brands and where exactly they came from. If you draw a straight line between the northernmost point and southernmost point in the contiguous United States, along with the westernmost point to the easternmost point, The lines do not intersect. This map shows what the size of the Great Lakes would look like if it was in Europe. This map shows which state you can find the highest percentage of people with ancestry from every European country. This map shows where every popular sitcom took place. Every red dot on this map is a football pitch or a soccer field if you're from the United States. This map shows that in 1990, most of the United States had 15% or less obese adults in their state, where less than 30 years later, now almost every state has more than 25% obesity rates.
The deadliest game show I bet you've never heard of. The show was called The Chamber, and only 3 episodes aired before it was canceled. Why cancel it so soon? Well, they literally tortured the contestants. The game was rather simple. In the pre-game face-off, 2 contestants would go back and forth answering questions. The winner moved on to the main game. The loser was sent home packing. The main game is where you would enter into the chamber. You were offered a $500 buyout if you didn't want to go any further, but nobody took it. When you entered the chamber, you would be strapped into a chair and hooked up to electrodes, muscle contractors, and medical equipment. And then a computer would choose whether you got the hot chamber or the cold. Once the chamber was sealed, the game began, and your goal was simple. Answer as many questions as quickly as you can while surviving the environmental torture that was thrown at you. In the hot chamber, they could increase the temperature up to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. Simulated earthquakes would also shake the chamber, going up to a 9.5 on the Richter scale. The more you progressed, the more the muscle contractors would activate. The chair would move back and forth, up and down, and rotate in complete circles. They would even drop the oxygen levels in the chamber, as well as blasting you in the face with winds up to 140 miles an hour. The cold chamber was equally as torturous, honestly if not worse. The temperature could drop to negative 20 degrees Fahrenheit. In the cold chamber, instead of rotating the chair, they would be sprayed with water jets, causing ice to form on the players. The game would end in a few different ways. If you answered 2 questions in a row wrong, you were out. If the medical team felt you were gonna pass, you were also out. You could also yell "stop the chamber" to forfeit, which, surprise surprise, nobody did. A total of 6 episodes were made, and the 3 unaired episodes reportedly had an insect chamber, an electric shock chamber, and a water torture chamber. The most you could have won on the show was around $120,000. The most anybody ever actually won was $20,000. That person, Scott Brown, got through all 7 levels of the cold chamber and was actually hospitalized afterwards. He then sued Fox and won $100,000.